And we're going to move on now to our next race, which is District 8. And we have with us the incumbent, Kurt Wickland, and his challenger, Kevin Mathewson. Kurt Wickland won the coin toss, so he'll get the first question. Kurt tells me he is a 56-year-old Waukegan native who is now in his 24th year as a Kenosha homeowner. He has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana. He cites a wide variety of life experience as his strongest preparation for the role of alderman. He's worked with people from around the world in R&D, research and development, and in engineering. He also says he knows what it's like to work for low pay and no benefits. His most profound experience was the 8-year period he spent caring for his invalid mother in the last stages of her life. His challenger is Kevin Mathewson, a resident of Kenosha's 8th District for 10 years, he tells me, married for 7 years to Nikki and has 2 children, a son Sam and a daughter Grace. He's the owner and operator of Optic Light Photography, LLC, and has been for the past 7 years. I'm going to begin then by asking Mr. Wickland, why are you running for re-election, Mr. Wickland, and what would you intend to do in your next term of office? What issues of the District 8 would you address?
Thank you for having us. I originally ran for office because you get asked that a lot, and there's a wide variety of reasons. But what it boils down to is I don't have children, and this is how most people pass their knowledge, their experiences, and their values down to the next generation. I decided that way I could impart what I've learned, good or bad as it may be, is to work for my community in the public office and leave my community just a little bit better when it's time for me to depart. Now, why am I running for a second term and what I intend to do with it? The first term, you spend most of the time learning. It's a very steep learning curve, and no one's really expecting you to drive policy. But in the second term, it's time to step it up. And I'm now in position to do so. I have 2 clear focuses for the next term. I'll mention the second one first because it's the most difficult, and it's one that will be very difficult to solve, and it certainly won't be done in the space of time I'm in office, and that is anti-blight efforts and combating against negligent landlords. It's a huge problem. We got an old housing stock. If you let the housing stock decay, it just becomes a vicious circle.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mathewson.
Thank you,
Why are
Len.
you running? Why are you challenging Mr. Wickland? And what would you do to solve any issues that you see in District 8?
I'm running for alderman of the 8th District because I love the community very much. Like you pointed out, I have 2 young children, and I want them to be able to ride their bikes in the neighborhood so that we as parents can feel safe about that. Unlike my opponent in the first 2 years, I got a lot of stuff done. I authored several resolutions, several ordinance changes. I think the time for learning is before you run for office. So I learned how things work before that, and I got right into work on my first 2 terms. I think I had a lot of accomplishments, and I want to listen to the people. I think our district's being unrepresented. One of the hot ticket items is the streetcar. 7,000 people signed a petition and told the alderman, hey, if you don't expand it, at least put it on a ballot. My opponent voted for it. He voted for it when it went up by $5 million, thanks to We Energies, and he voted against the referendum. When a politician tells you, I don't want to hear your opinion, I know what's better for you more than you do, it's time to throw them out and let's get somebody in there that is going to listen to you and take what you learn from listening and use that in your decision-making on council.
Mr. Wickland, would you like to respond regarding the streetcar?
Well, there's no secret that I supported the streetcar. In fact, I believe I featured very prominently in a Steve Lund editorial before the election. I won that election. That is the #1 referendum on whether you're approved of by the voters. I did not vote for the streetcar after it went up by $5 million. No one in the city of Kenosha voted for the streetcar after it went up by $5 million. When we got a bill from W Energies, we passed a resolution to take that money out of the streetcar and assign it to other needs. One of those needs being the repair of 7th Avenue between Library Park and 56th Street, which is about 25% of the length of the streetcar loop as we voted for it, and that consumed about 40% of the money. So why did I support the streetcar? Because we would have gotten more street repairs out of doing the streetcar project than we are with our own tax money alone, and the federal money would have put in rails. But that streetcar is not an 8th district issue. It's a 2nd district issue. It's resolved it's not going to come back. What I'm going to do is focus on roads, and I'm going to announce that next week I intend to publish my initiative called Residential Roads 2017. The objective here is to advance the spending on residential roads. As one of my constituents said, I've been living in this house for 25 years. In that time, the city inspection department's come by twice and demanded that I put improvements into my house. Not once has the city improved the road in front of my house. Now we're going to ask them to wait 5 or 10 more years before that road's been fixed? I don't think so. And the capper to the Residential Roads 2017 is this. It is time for Kenosha to get out of the gravel alley business. It's the 21st century. This is an easy, low-hanging fruit, a way that we can invest in the old districts, spruce up the old districts by getting rid of these ugly gravel alleys that attract trash disposal, to attract crime, and are just plain old unsightly. Blight abatement is a long-term problem. It's going to take generations. Fixing our side streets is going to be a long-term project, but we can start with the low-hanging fruit, and that's start getting rid of these gravel alleys that predominate in District 8. District 8 is the #1 alley district in the city of Kenosha.
Mr. Mathewson?
As far as alleys go, I think the priorities, and the people think the priorities on the side streets and the roads. Maybe we can look at fixing the alleys at a later time. In my tenure, I got a couple alleys closed. I know that there was one during my opponent's tenure that he couldn't quite get closed. Closing the alleys is usually good for everybody involved. Less city resources have to go there. My opponent talks about blight. He's right. We need to make sure we're getting on top of these landlords and people that are not taking care of their property. And we have to lead by example. My opponent, and it's all public record, has 5 active violations on his house that he's had for almost a year, and he's using his authority to get out of paying fines. When he's going after seniors and families to get their things paid, he's got violations that they're telling the inspectors. He's an alderman. We can't enforce them. He should
Wait
pay
a
his
second.
fine.
I'd like to hear a response from Mr. Wickland on
I
that.
think we moved back in time about an hour and a half to the mayoral debate here. I do have some dings on my house from the inspection. It went through my area of the neighborhood. I'm not using my authority as alderman to get out of it, as any citizen can. You work with the inspection department to address these issues as you can afford them, and it's not been a year. There's just a whole bunch of nonsense here. Yeah, there was a party did ask to vacate an alley in their district. However, not everyone in that end of that alley agreed with it. So did I use the power of the city to force that alley be closed? No. The folks that I spoke with them just about a month ago, and they're going to attempt another vacating alley. And here's this. If we set up a funded program to work on alleys, we can get over those humps, because some of these alleys to be vacated aren't going to be done unless the city ponies up some money to either do regrading in the case of this alley, which there's a steep hill slope which made most of that alleyway unusable, unless we were to go in there with a grader and some dirt fill to make it usable. So,
Mr. Mathewson, any response?
Like I said, everything's public record. The city has a great website where you can look up code violations, things like that, permits. You can see which permits are issued, what code violations are happening. But I think when you're the alderman, people look at your house on the block. They want to see your house among the top. These vacant or
I think we have the
blightful
point.
properties take property value down, and we need to get away from that.
I'm going to ask for closing statements now from each of you. Since we asked the first question of Mr. Wickland, we're going to ask Mr. Mathewson to make the first closing statement. Mr. Mathewson.
Thanks for having us, Len. I want to be the alderman for the 8th District because I want to listen to you. It's great that my opponent has a once-a-month breakfast club meeting, but I was available every day via email, social media, phone calls, personal visits. I think we need to make ourselves available every day, not just once a month. And not only do we need to listen, but we need to take what we're told and asked by the residents, and we need to do something with us. When they give us 7,000 petitions a stack this high and say don't vote for the streetcar, we need to listen to them. I will vote for your special interest, you, not my special interest or my personal goals and ambitions. It's not my district when I'm elected, it's everybody's district. Thank you.
Thank you. Your closing statement, Mr. Wickland?
Thank you. I'm running a positive campaign based on an outstanding first term. I've served on 6 different commissions with a 99% attendance record. This wide experience has taught me a great deal. I treat the professional staff with respect, and I've earned theirs in return. I've never had a problem getting help. I made considerable efforts to stay in touch with the district. I fielded hundreds of requests. I've held meetings at Andy's every single month. I distribute newsletters door to door when it's possible. I promised road repair last year as my #1 goal, and I delivered. The Residential Roads 2017 initiative will build upon this pressing concern. 2 years ago, I promised to focus on the fundamentals. I delivered. I don't try to get my name in the paper. I just do what needs being done to get the job done. I am proud to have played my part in the Common Council's improving professionalism. I urge everyone listening here to seek out the opinions of friends and family. Word of mouth is the gold standard in local elections. I'm convinced the more people you talk to, the more likely you'll vote for Kurt Wickland on April 5th.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And now we're going to move